in today's video I'm going to be teaching you exactly how you can create really lovely shoulder seams. Now as you can see here, this is the traditional method of creating a shoulder seam. So it's got that stepped edge, you see? And as you'll probably find out, it just doesn't create the nicest finish. You end up with potentially kind of lumpy seams. It's not that exact, it's quite hard to line up. I personally just don't like using them, despite the fact that I did use them for several years. But now I've moved on to a new method, and that method is short rows. So the one that I'm working with here, this is a cast on of 36 stitches. And just to make it easy to sort of demonstrate, my steps are just 6, so 6 steps of 6 stitches. The way that I would normally do that if I was using this method would be to just cast off 6 stitches, work the rest of the row, work back, and then cast off the next 6 stitches at the start of the row, and so on. Doing short rows is relatively similar to that. However, you're actually working from this edge, you're working part of the way across the row, moving back, keeping those on the needle by the way, working part of the row and working back. So you create that slant all the way up and then just knit across the row to finish. Now I'm going to demonstrate how that actually works in person. I have some knitting here that I've been working with. Let me just grab my yarn properly. Okay, so I've just done a little bit of sampling here. And as I say, you're working from this edge, working across part of the way. And remember, the steps are 6 stitches. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches here. And I'm ready to start doing short rows. Short rows are very simple. It's just a matter of wrapping a stitch and turning it midway through the row. So as I say, I've worked across, left myself 6 stitches because I don't want to knit those. Those are the stitches actually that we would traditionally cast off. Because we're doing short rows, it's slightly different. So to do your first wrap stitch, you just take the yarn from the back through to the front, slip that stitch onto the needle, put the yarn back to the back, slip the stitch back onto your left-handed needle, and then turn the work. So all you're doing on this row now is just purling your stitches all the way back. Okay, so I've just finished working that row. So you can see here there's a kind of separation where you can see I've wrapped this stitch here. What I want to do is work up until 6 stitches before this wrapped stitch here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is where I'm going to work up to, just until this point here. So remember, this is my wrapped stitch. You can tell, you can sort of see the wrap if you look closely at your work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to work up until that point, 6 stitches before. So now I have 6 stitches before this wrap stitch, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I'm just going to repeat the exact process again. So bringing my yarn to the front of the work, slipping that stitch that I want to wrap, bringing the yarn back to the back, slip it back onto that needle, and then I'm just going to turn my work and purl to the end, and that's another short row done. And you can start to see the slant here, because this is a slightly shorter row than we are up here, and you can just see it starting to slant. I'm going to repeat this now across the row, so just working in sections of 6 stitches. So working, 6 stitches before that wrap stitch, and then working 6 stitches before that wrap stitch, and so on until I've done all sort of 6 sets of 6 across the row. So I'll be back in a mo. So I have finished all of my short rows. You can see here that now there is a distinct slant, just as I would have created with my stepping sort of cast off technique, but with this all of the stitches are still live and it's a much smoother line. So the last step in finalising your short rows is just to knit across them, and you'll take that wrapped stitch and incorporate it into the stitch that you're working with. It's almost like a knit 2 together, but I will demonstrate that for you to make it a little easier to understand. So I'm going to knit right up until my wrapped stitch. And you'll be able to tell where your wrapped stitch is because it just seems to sort of pull apart from the rest of the work. So here I have my wrapped stitch, and what I'm going to do is just pick up the wrap here, and I'm going to go through that as well as my stitch. So I now have what looks like 2 stitches on my right hand needle. Then I'm going to knit it as I would, just like it's a knit 2 together, and I'm pulling it through both there, and they're both knitted off, and that just gives a really nice finish to the work, because you want to hide that wrap, and by knitting it into the stitch that you're wrapping, then it just gives a much smoother look. If you leave the wraps there, it's not going to have that sort of seamless invisible quality that you want it to have. So again, I've just knitted up until another wrap stitch, and I'm picking that up with my right hand needle. Then I'm going to go through the wrapped stitch. So I now have both the wrap and the stitch on my right hand needle, and I'm going to work it as I would if it was a knit 2 together. So I'm going through both the yeah, there we go, working both through the wrap and the stitch. I'm pulling it off. So it can feel a little tricky at first, but it's very simple. So here we go, wrapped stitch, picking up that wrap, picking up the stitch, knitting through both and just dropping them off the needle. So I'm going to continue to do that across the row. Okay, so there we have it. All of our wrap stitches have now been incorporated into the fabric. You've got that clear slant and all the stitches are still live. So really up to you now what you choose to do. Some people like to cast off all of these stitches and hand stitch the seam together for the shoulder seam. Myself, I prefer to use a 3 needle bind off. You can find videos on YouTube for that. I will soon be releasing my own video on teaching you how to do the 3 needle bind off. I find that gives a really nice clean finish. So say you have a knitting pattern that suggests using this step method for the shoulder seam, but you want to go and use the short row method. It's very simple to translate a knitting pattern from this into this. I recommend you just take a look at the pattern, see how many they're suggesting that you cast off at the start of each row. So in this case it's 6, but it could be that it varies, so 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 or something. And just writing those numbers down so that you know that in the case of this, it would be knitting across to the 7th stitch from the end, wrapping and turning and going back. And then in the next row you'd be working across to 6 stitches before the wrap stitch, wrapping and turning and going back, then going across to 5 stitches before the wrap stitch, wrapping and turning back, and so on. And it's very simple. It's just a matter of sort of noting down what the pattern has said in terms of those stitches here, the counts of the stitches that you're casting off traditionally, and just sort of translating it into instructions on your short rows. So yeah, let me know how you get on with this technique. It should really make the seaming of your shoulder seams much neater, easier, and yeah, just less lumpiness. No one wants lumpy shoulders. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And you can find me and more of my blog posts over on www.sistermountain.com. Look forward to seeing you soon.